Hello and welcome to another Royal Reviewer live pop-up chat. Well, today we cannot bring you, as of right now, there are still no concrete details that have officially been released by Harry and Meghan or the palace. So, this is what we expect to happen. I'm going to wait. Hopefully, a few people will be joining live. I will go to viewer comments very, very soon. But everyone is talking about a possible, and I say possible because we're not entirely sure, but there may be a possible announcement at some point today from the royal family, from Harry and Meghan, about the future of Harry and Meghan, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. But as of what time is it now? It is 1 p.m. in the UK GMT. So, I will say at the outset of this video, we are going to be talking about lots of stories over the past couple of days that have come out. But there is nothing absolutely, official that has been released yet. So, I may be coming back later with another live chat as soon as anything officially is released. Right, I can see people are arriving, people are coming to the chat, so I'm going to say hello to everybody. I hope you've all had a really lovely day. I did take a day off from posting about this situation yesterday. Obviously, I covered Harry's engagement at the rugby. And we have some more to talk about that as well in this video. But I got a sense from my previous live chat about this issue, this ongoing issue. I got a sense that everybody is kind of almost a bit grumpy. I think it's safe to say that most people are feeling a little bit grumpy in the absence of any official statements or releases or any official information about what's going to happen. I think people are feeling grumpy. I definitely got a sense that it didn't matter what I said. It was rubbing people up the wrong way. Whichever side of things that you look at, whichever eyes you use, I think people are feeling a little bit grumpy. I myself am probably feeling a little bit grumpy about it all too. I'm ready for some official information, I have to say. But in the absence of that, all we can do is talk about all the different things that are going on. So let me know, are you feeling grumpy? I want to know in the comments section. Are you ready for a resolution? Let me know. Yes, hello and good morning to everybody. 168 people are watching right now. Lady Buckingham says, I'm over Harry and Meghan. Sharona says, have I done something to my tiara? It looks different. No, this is the Girls of Great Britain and Ireland tiara, one of the Queen's favourites. Lots of people saying hello. Sharon says, did I watch the documentary about Harry and Meghan stepping back? No, I have not seen that one. Yet. Sunshine Cat says, I would like to hear the final word. And Karen says, I want a good resolution for Harry and Meghan. And Queen Elizabeth the Adorable, hello and welcome, Your Majesty, says, one is very stressed. Sharpie says, I'm over Britain and their racist behaviour. Well, we'll come to issues of that, I think, a little bit later. Right, I've got a big list of stories that have happened over the last day or so. I might not get through all of them, but I will tackle the Prince Harry Rugby World Cup draw. So, Harry came out for the first time for his first official engagement since all of this. Obviously, he is still in the UK. He has not flown back to Canada. It is unclear whether he is staying, until things have been announced, resolved. But he had this prior engagement, so he did not go back to Canada with Meghan to see Archie. Do excuse me, I still have a little bit of a cough and a sore throat, which is why I've been drinking the herbal tea. So he came out at the palace. This engagement was held at the palace where he drew out the draws for the 2022 Rugby World Cup. And obviously prior to doing the actual draw that was streamed live on Twitter, I do believe. He was in the palace grounds with people, with young people, and he was doing a really, really good job. I know that there was one comment from a journalist, a question that was put to him about what's going on. He, I think, very sensibly ignored that comment and carried on. He was looking very personable, and he attacked his royal duty with aplomb, as he usually does. He was warm, he was friendly, but like I say, he did obviously ignore any question, wisely ignore any questions that were put to him, any comments that were shouted out about the ongoing situation, which again I think is extremely wise. He is a professional at this. So that engagement, as far as I'm concerned, went off without a hitch. I have seen on Twitter some, horrible, some paparazzi photographs of when I think he was either arriving or leaving, and he was looking at his mobile phone, and there was some terrible people trying to say, caption this photograph, and that if you read the comments in that, there was lots and lots of hate directed at Meghan, I have to say. So it's out there. Beware, it's out there. So going back to, I think I've lost the comment now. Yeah, I've lost the comment, but yes, there were some racist comments, and I know lots of people out there are saying, call things out as racist if they're racist. There are some racist things, some racist comments out there on Twitter. I have seen them, so beware. So if you see this photo about, caption this photo, probably don't go there. Probably best not to go there and not to look at it. But anyway, I will move on from that. There is also ongoing questions because of the Harry and Meghan situation regarding Prince Andrew and his security. So people have kind of questioned, it may even be the government that's been questioning, a possible security review for Prince Andrew, since he has been forcibly stepped back from royal duties, because people are now asking the questions, well, if it's on the card, if it's on the table for Harry and Meghan's security to be questioned, Prince Andrew's could also be questioned too. He is currently still royal with titles, but he is currently no longer doing full-time working duties. So the implication of what's decided for Harry and Meghan could also impact Prince Andrew, or to be honest, anyone else who is receiving any type of police protection, who is not doing an official role. So I would like to say that probably Prince Andrew's security is probably under review, up for review. Let's just see what people are saying. Laurie says, doesn't the Queen have the right to take little Archie and raise him in England? There is this really kind of obscure rule where the monarch technically has custody of the grandchildren. It kind of harks back to a time when the monarch really wanted to make sure about how the grandchildren were raised, obviously in a favourable way to the crown. The Queen does not exercise this prerogative. Technically, things have to be kind of run past the Queen. However, it's, as far as we are aware, the Queen has not gone against the wishes of any parents. And it seems very unlikely, seeing as the Queen has agreed for Harry and Meghan to be stepping back as senior royals. It seems very, very unreasonable to think that Her Majesty would take control of Archie and keep him in Britain, or any other rumours that are going around. I think the Queen will very, very wisely, because she is a wise lady, I think she will very wisely allow Harry and Meghan to raise Archie exactly how they want to raise him. I don't think the Queen will be standing in any parent's way. The Cambridges or the Sussexes or Zara and Peter or Beatrice and Eugenie, I don't think she will stand in any of her grandchildren's ways when it comes to raising their family. I think that will totally be down to the parents. Yes, great grandchild. I think it also extends. I did at one point look up this weird, strange rule, and I think it extended to great grandchildren as well. I can't quite remember. Don't quote me on that one. But I will perhaps go and look that one back up. At one point, it was it raised for Louis or Charlotte? It may even have been Archie way back when Meghan and Harry announced their pregnancy. But I will go back and check that out. But I think it extended to it may have extended to great grandchildren as well. Also, when I turned on my TV this morning to watch This Morning, which is a breakfast TV show daily in the UK. Today it was presented by Eamon and Ruth. Who should I see as the very, 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 very first article out there was an interview with Samantha Markle. And she said a few things. She confirmed that Thomas Markle, if called for, would testify against his daughter Meghan in a court of law. She called for apologies to be made from Harry and Meghan. Now I know a lot of you are going, "Oh my God, don't talk about her." But it is important to know what is being put out there. This is what she is saying. I'm not saying I agree with it, but this is what she is saying. She also claimed she was asked by Eamon and Ruth who she thought was the main instigator of Harry and Meghan stepping back from their desire to step back from senior royal roles, and no surprises for guessing what she said. What do you think she said? She said that she thought that it was Meghan's idea, that she was the primary instigator of all of this. So yeah, I mean, make of that what you will, but I just thought I would point out that that is what is being put out from Samantha Markle and Thomas Markle's side. She also tried to go back on the series of photographs, on those staged photographs, but Eamon and Ruth did steer her away from that and basically told her that's old news. We want to know about the new stuff. I think Samantha was trying to put across that she knew more than what she actually does know, because as we know, Harry and Meghan have not been speaking to them. They've not been speaking to Thomas, they've not been speaking to Samantha. So she kind of was trying to speak in a way, and she is very, she can be quite eloquent in what she puts out there. So it's, that can be quite dangerous in itself, because she was kind of speaking as if she was in the know, when we all kind of know that they've had no communication. So I think that is quite important to put out there, just to be careful what you listen to, and where you hear it from. But yes, that's what I was faced with and subjected to with my morning coffee when I turned on the TV. Let's see what people are saying. Yeah, I mean, I'm agreeing with quite a lot of the comments that are coming out. Angelic says, if the Sussexes choose to do so, can they go back to their former roles at a later time, if so desired? That's one of the things. I mean, that is a really pertinent question and a really pertinent point. I think the royal family will be keeping the door well and truly open. I don't think they are going to shut anyone out completely. Yes, I do think that there is a way back for Harry and Meghan if they so desire at a later date. Now, we don't know at the moment, what's going to be agreed or not agreed. There has been talk that this agreement, well, this kind of halfway house that they're in at the moment could take up to 6 months to formalise. There are a lot of things. The palace is talking to people that they've not had to necessarily have dealings with before. We've got the implications about legally, can Prince Harry live in Canada, the tax implications, security. There is a lot to go through. But what has been reported, again, I don't know if this is true, but what has been reported is a possible sticking point on their desire to be financially independent and how that will work out. So, and also the implications that that might have on other royals with titles such as Beatrice and Eugenie. So, let's just say, for example, Harry and Meghan were to agree to give up their titles. I don't think that will happen. But let's just say, for one scenario, they gave up their titles, like Zara and Peter Phillips, Princess Anne's children. I think at that point, they would be completely free to do whatever deals and whatever that they wanted to do. Perhaps as long as they didn't, overplay their royal connections. That might be something that might be seen as disrespectful within Harry's family to do that. But in terms of acting roles, voiceovers, personal appearances, merchandise, whatever, I would say that they could probably be free to do that entirely if they were to give up titles. But I don't think that that's going to happen. Do we have a troll in our midst? Let me just remove the troll. Right, I've removed the troll. So, no, I don't think that's a route they're going to go down. I don't think the royal family necessarily will push at this point to renounce any titles. I do, however, think that in terms of commercialisation, the sticking point could be what they commercialise, how they commercialise it, and of course, trading on their royal titles. So, what I think that might happen is the palace could be trying to reach some kind of formal agreement as to what can be commercialised, what is allowed to be commercialised, how it can be commercialised, and also the implications that could have on the other royals. So, for example, let's just say certain things, and we don't know what they are, let's just say certain things are agreed that you can earn money from. It could be acting roles, it could be doing commercial speaking, like speeches at dinners and conferences and that kind of thing. Those kinds of things could be allowed to become financially independent. So, for example, Beatrice and Eugenie, also, that could apply to them. Well, if Harry and Meghan with royal titles are allowed to commercialise this or that, that could have wider implications for Beatrice and Eugenie, who do have jobs but are not necessarily commercialising anything in terms of like big royal roles, because they are afraid of a conflict of interest, this kind of trade-off between being able to earn money and commercialising on your royal title. That is a very nuanced point, and Beatrice and Eugenie, as I've said before, are in between a rock and a hard place. There isn't really any hard and fast rules or code that they can do. However, if one is created for Harry and Meghan, that could also apply to Beatrice and Eugenie. What I think the palace will be standing very firm on is, for example, and I've heard this quoted before, but they wouldn't want to see the royal connections, for example, trying to sell toilet paper, maybe branded clothing, that kind of thing. I don't think commercializing in terms of product would probably be off the table. There's also talk in royal circles that maybe Harry and Meghan would still have to run past the palace any money making, any commercialization deals before they sign them to be approved. So again, we don't know what's going to come out of that, but what's looking more likely at the moment is that there could be some kind of code of conduct when it comes to commercialising. What is acceptable, what is not acceptable? Let's cast our minds back to Prince Edward. Before he was married, I think, to Sophie Rhys-Jones, they had a television production company. Well, if that was allowed for them to commercialise on, then it seems very, very likely that perhaps any acting roles, any voice-over roles could be allowed. I am thinking that maybe that could be allowed. I'm also thinking maybe if Meghan wanted to go into, and Harry, go into any kind of TV production, that might also be allowed. It's worth pointing out that for Prince Edward, it didn't go well. His foray into the business world didn't end well. Whether Harry and Meghan's ventures would be any different, I don't know. I mean, also what could be allowed is, property investments, that kind of thing. So there are avenues that I think could be, agreeable with the palace. But again, we wait to see. Miriam says, doesn't Prince Charles sell organic products? The Duchy Originals brand, I do believe, was actually sold off to Waitrose, but any of the money that was made from the Duchy went back into the Duchy of Cornwall, of which, of course, he is owner of, well, custodian of, so he will have had access to that money under the Duchy. But that route into commercialisation was squared off. That was squared off by the palace, squared off by the government. Harry and Meghan's routes, Harry and Meghan's ventures would also have to be similarly squared off. And I'm thinking what could be in the pipeline is some kind of code of conduct, which could also benefit Beatrice and Eugenie. There would be a clear set of rules saying what they could or couldn't do in terms of being commercial, which may actually help royals who have a title, who don't necessarily have a prominent royal role. It could, for example, help Charlotte and Louis when they get older, when Prince George is king. This, whatever is decided now could have wider implications way down in the future, or rather far into the future. Terry Young says, would the fuss cease if they just paid for their own protection while still performing their duties for the Queen and worked at some agreement to give back a percentage to the public funding? I think it would be a huge mistake for Harry and Meghan not to have royal protection. I think they need it. I think they would benefit from it. The question is, of course, who pays for it? I think if they're not performing royal duties, they should probably pay for it themselves if they are financially independent. However, I don't think royal protection should be withdrawn from them. Even in a scenario where, for example, they didn't have titles, I think it should be offered, but perhaps they should pay for it. I think it would look good for them in terms of being financially independent, not doing royal duties, if they paid for that protection. I do believe the same was offered for Beatrice and Eugenie, but they couldn't afford it. Prince Andrew, I don't think, put his hand into his pocket to pay for it. So they effectively lost it, but was offered it. And I think something similar would probably happen to Harry and Meghan. Of course, there is also the issue, would Canada pay for it? And again, there is lots of debate going on, lots of discussions between the public and Justin Trudeau and the UK government and the palace as to how that is going to transpire. Marionette says, agree, a code of conduct makes perfect sense as a way forward for them and other royals. Let's not also discount maybe a period of reflection. I mean, all of this has happened really quickly. Harry and Meghan have had, if you go back to when they first met, they got engaged. Meghan was ingratiated into the family really early. She did engagements before marriage. They hit the ground running after marriage. Then they had Archie not too long after. Lots of tours, lots of work, lots of, a packed schedule, lots of ventures going on. A lot happened for the Sussexes in a very short space of time. There hasn't really been a period where they can just stop and reflect, be a couple, be a family. A lot has happened in a very short space of time. And one thing I don't like to do often is compare and contrast between the Cambridges. But on this occasion, I think it is really, really pertinent to point out the difference between how the Cambridges' relationship regarding timescales played out and that of Harry and Meghan. There was a lot of fuss made about Waity Katie and the time it took for William to propose to Catherine, but they knew each other over a long period of time. Catherine knew absolutely 100% fully the family she was getting involved with. She knew 100% before she got married what to expect. She also took quite a bit of time to learn the role, to get to know the different charities, the different areas of work she wanted to be involved with. Compare and contrast that to Harry and Meghan, who met, got engaged, got married, started a family, got to hit the ground running with work in a very short space of time. That can have a huge impact on everything, not to mention the pressure of the press, the bullying, the racial narratives that were going on. It's a lot. It's a lot. There was a whirlwind, and I think the time they had, the 6-7 weeks off, I was hoping at the time of that time would be spent being a couple, being a family, having downtime. But it seems like a lot of that time was actually spent setting up what they were going to do now. So I don't necessarily think that in that short space of time where all of this has happened, that they've actually had time to stop, to take stock, to really think and, address themselves as well as what's been going on. I know myself that there have been times in the last year or so where I have literally just wanted the world to stop. I wanted the world to stop, and I've had a really big feeling that I want to catch up with the world, but the world keeps going, and the world isn't going to stop. So maybe there is another option of just taking a bit more time out. I'm still not discounting a really, really, really meaty Commonwealth role for Harry. One thing that I would like to see maybe is a Governor Generalship of somewhere in the Commonwealth, a really important role that is going to really make Harry feel valued and like he really had. I mean, I don't think there was ever any talk about pushing the Sussexes out. I think Prince Charles made it really, really obvious that Harry and Meghan were going to be included in any slimmed down version of the monarchy. But I think a really meaty 5-year Governor General role away from the UK, where Meghan could spend a lot of her time setting up the Sussex Royal Foundation, doing charity work, doing ventures, maybe even doing voiceovers for Disney where the money was going to charity. They could still access public funds, still keep security. I still don't think that is entirely off the cards. But no, I don't think that'll happen. I do think we'll see something more along the lines of a code of conduct. But let's not completely discount another route opening up. But we will see. We will see. Nashia McDaniel says it's different being a black woman and being looked at as lazy versus a white woman being seen that way. I totally get that there are differences in how people are seen. Meghan is totally capable of doing the work. She's proved that she can hit the ground running and she can just go straight into it and do it. She's done that. She has done amazing work. When you think of all the different initiatives and money raised and things that she's done since being a member of the family, before being a member of the family, she is incredible with the work that she's done. Totally, totally capable. But if you see my point, there hasn't been time to really, I think, reflect and take stock of everything that's happened. A big, enormous amount of things has happened in a very, very short space of time on a public scale with all the criticism that's been going on. It's a lot. It's a lot for anybody. She's not Superwoman. You know, as much as people might like to make out, she's not Superwoman. She's human. We all have thoughts and feelings and desires and mental health going on. And I just think maybe, just maybe, time out where nothing's going on, or just time out away from the UK might be something that's beneficial. But we will see when we have some kind of proper announcement. Terry Young says, how long would you wait to be a future queen? They may have called her Waity Katie, but no one ever called her a chimpanzee or said Katie eating avocados would have terrorist implications. I read those headlines too, and they were completely disgusting. I don't like any comparisons, but the one thing, like I've said, that I would compare on is the amount, is the timescales, of adjustment, and I think the way that how William and Catherine adjusted to it, how they spent time together as a couple before having a family, before getting married, how they spent time really developing the areas of work. It allowed them time to adjust to being a couple, adjust to being married, adjust to being a family, adjust to the work. Maybe that's what's also missing, amongst all the other stuff as well, amongst the abuse, the bullying, the racism thrown on top. Meghan and Harry have had so much in a short space of time to go through. Maybe they haven't processed everything. And also, obviously, what's been going on behind the scenes in the family as well. The breakdowns of communications, the tensions that have been going on. It's a lot. It's a lot for two people with a young child, a new mom, to go through. A lot. Michelle says, in total agreement, they need time to themselves. Cassandra says, a couple decides when they want children. They do indeed. NR says, spot on. Andrea says, time was a commodity they didn't have if they waited for children. I mean, again, that is another factor. I'm not criticising it. I'm just saying that is the situation, and the timescales may also have played a part in everything that's going on right now. Right, I'm going to move on to see if there's anything else. So, oh yes, Meghan was seen driving a car. Headline news! Meghan was seen driving a car. And she was apparently picking up a friend from the airport. Again, there are series of photos out there, so if you want to see Meghan behind the wheel of a car, breaking news, do go and look those up. There was also rumours about Frogmore Cottage staff being fired or sacked. This is not true. The Frogmore Cottage staff have actually been redeployed elsewhere on the Windsor estate. So they have not been sacked. Probably scaled back is more the word. And I think any members of staff that... Basically, Frogmore Cottage, I think, going forward, will probably be run on a skeletal staff. And then obviously when Harry and Meghan are back in residence, there will be extra staff put in place. But the main permanent members of staff, I think, have been redeployed elsewhere. They have not been sacked. So Harry and Meghan have not sacked people. They are not going around sacking people. There we go. Just thought I'd say that. Also, I think what's important mentioning today is an article that was written, and I'm not going to name names, but you probably know who I'm talking about. A royal reporter who has known Harry for many, many years has written an article talking about the relationship that they have had with Harry. And I think it's pertinent to mention because I think it shows that the royal family do have relationships with royal press and royal journalists. I wasn't entirely sure up until maybe this point that they did, but I think they do. It's important to remember that back in the days of Diana would routinely invite members of the press to her Kensington Palace apartment to give them drinks and little soirees. I think it has been customary for, at the end of, for example, a royal tour, to have all the journalists and to buy them a drink and to thank them. This particular journalist has opened up about her, I'm going to say her, personal relationship with Harry. And I think it was kind of a little bit eye-opening, if you can believe what was said. And I think, like I say, it does open up to the fact that perhaps the royals might have more to do with the royal reporters and maybe even leaking information themselves to the royal reporters than what we all probably previously thought and felt. And I think that's important to remember because, you know, Harry and Meghan have come under a lot of criticism for, you know, maybe releasing certain details and information via their friends. But I think it's also important to remember that this kind of article opens up the fact that maybe lots of senior royals kind of do the same, but maybe even in person. Maybe they actually in person do tip off the press about certain things. So I thought that I would point that out, if of course anything is to be believed. Right, I'm going to go now. Let me just see, I saw a comment coming through. Oh no, Sharon, I don't know if you're talking to me or not, but you say, stop blaming the royal family for the way Harry and Meghan are being treated. Nobody knows what went on behind closed doors. If that's what you're getting from me, what I'm saying, I am not blaming the royal family. I am trying to look very objectively at the whole situation, at the moment, in the absence of any concrete information. So I am going to go now. I may come back later if there is an announcement about anything. So, if you've enjoyed this video, please give it a big old thumbs up. Don't forget to share on social media, and also do hit the bell so that you know whenever I upload a new video. Also, please do make sure you are subscribed to the channel. So, from me in Shropshire, mwah to you all, and goodbye.